Long story short, folks, the Division is such an accurate representation of New York City that it actually features the rat that brought the piece of pizza down to the subway. Now wait just a goddamn second real quick. Could that actually be the rat that's featured on Steam's top-selling video game ever created? Bad Rats? Cue the fucking music. Nope, that's definitely not him. Well, hello all my nerds and nerdettes, good old Commander Sparks here. I hope everybody's been doing good. This is going to be my beta impressions of The Division.
Now before we dive into the video completely, there are a couple things that I want to note. Number one, I played the beta on Xbox One, so I can't give an opinion or a review or impressions on either the PlayStation 4 version or the PC version because I haven't played it. Now the second thing worth noting is that this is my personal opinion on the game and how I felt about it playing it. Your opinions may be different than mine, and that's perfectly fine. But like I said, this is just how I feel about the game personally. Now to make this video a little more organized, what we're going to do is we're going to break it up into a couple sections. That way it don't sound like a rambling dumbass all night long, you know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to have that shit. So the first section is going to be graphics and immersion. The second section is going to be combat and gameplay. And the third section is going to be things that I think the game should add or can be worked upon. I'll have my final conclusions on the game and answer the question of whether you should pick this game up for yourself.
So, now that we got that covered, why don't you go ahead and sit back, relax, get yourself some popcorn, snack, whatever you want, and let's get to covering some topics. Because this one's going to be a doozy. You think that's a cool transition? So let's just go ahead and address the big elephant that's in the room with this game. Yes, the graphics have received a downgrade from the E3 trailer shown in 2013. But, hold the phone, folks. Because that's really not all that bad. And the reason I say that is because even though that the graphics have received a downgrade, the game still, in my opinion, looks very good on console, and I'm sure it probably looks even better on PC, granted the fact that it has more processing power and the ability to be able to have higher graphics and all that jazz. Now, many of us know that Ubisoft has actually done this before with their game Watch Dogs, to where they show off the game in E3, and when the game finally comes out, it's non-representational of what they showed off in the demo graphically. Now, me as a gamer, I'm of the mindset that if you have to scale back things to be able to include more things, and graphics is something that is scaled back upon, it's really not the biggest deal, because sometimes graphics don't make a game. You can have a game with amazing graphics, but if your gameplay is shit, then you're gonna suffer for it. So in the respect of the graphics for The Division, I didn't really have any gripes about it because I thought that it looked pretty good on Xbox. Now let's move on to immersion. Now, being the southern gentleman I am, I've never lived up north or even really visited New York City.
But there's been a lot of people who said that this game is pretty representational of New York and how it actually looks. From everything to the streets to the buildings and everything. When I played this game, I had the sense that this is something that could actually happen, that I was actually in this living and breathing world, and that I was actually doing something to impact it. Now, granted, this was only a beta and this was only a small slice of the game. I feel like the whole game is just going to have a really cool feel to it. There were times where me and Paul were playing where we had people come up to us and ask us for food or drinks, and they would give us rewards before doing it. It was a cool little thing that made you feel like you were actually helping the people around the city. Another thing you can see in the video right now is the fact that there's snow in the game. Now, in different areas of the city, there's actually dynamic weather, so sometimes you'll have clear skies and no snow, and then sometimes you'll have heavy snow like a fucking blizzard, But we thought it was really cool and unique, the fact that the snow actually starts to pile up on your gear and your hat, and it's visual, so you can actually see it.
It makes you feel like you're battling the elements, baby.
Now, one thing I forgot to mention, and I want to mention, is the fact there's people who are saying that there's apparently frame rate issues on the console version of the game. Now, me personally, throughout the beta, I did not receive any frame rate drops or anything. It was relatively a very smooth experience. I'm pretty hopeful that when the full game comes out, everybody can experience it in their fullest potential, whatever platform they play it on, because the game is pretty damn fun.
Alright, let me set the scene for you. It's a Friday night, people want to go out to a bar, right? There's 5 video games in that bar, alright? The first video game is Destiny, the second video game is DayZ, the third video game is Gears of War, the fourth game is Rainbow Six Vegas, and the fifth and final game is Mass Effect. Those 5 games get a little friendly with one another, okay? And they decide to go back to their place and have some sex. Well, 9 months later pops out The Division, okay? That's pretty much what we're just gonna go with that, okay? Alright, cool. Now, I know what you're thinking, alright? 5 fucking games? How the hell can this game be like 5 games? Well, let me just break it down for you folks, okay?
Now, a lot of people have been comparing this game to Destiny, and I think there's a good reason why. The game's leveling system, its armor system, and its weapon systems are almost identical in the fact that the better gear that you have, the more DPS you do in The Division, and the better armor that you have, the more health you have, which is very resembling of Destiny in the fact that the better gear you have, the higher your light level is, and the more damage you do if you have better guns and higher light level on those guns. You've also got the basic, the rare, and the exotic weapons too. Now, the reason why I chose DayZ is because DayZ has a really immersive feel to it, whereas this game has kind of rubbed off on that and has kind of captured that as well, in my opinion. The looting is also very reminiscent of DayZ as well because you have to actually search around for stuff. Also, the gear kind of looks very similar to DayZ's gear, where you feel like you're actually out there,
you know, battling the elements and surviving, baby.
Now, the reason why I chose Gears of War is because the cover system is very identical to Gears of War. And also, when you sprint in the game, it looks very resembling of the rodeo run from Gears of War.
And who the hell doesn't love them some rodeo runs in Gears of War, baby?
Now, the reason why I chose Rainbow Six Vegas is because the game has a lot of team play to it and tacticalness to it. And finally, the reason why I chose Mass Effect is because there's a lot of tech powers in the game and there's a lot of cooldowns on things, which reminded me a lot of Mass Effect. And the fact that it's an RPG game and kind of has the same elements to it.
So that's pretty much my reasoning for why 5 games are mixed into one, and we have ourselves a division, baby. So, moving on to combat, ladies and gentlemen.
Now, if I had to classify this game, I would definitely say that it's an RPG first and a shooter second. Now, with that being said, I feel like the shooting and the mechanics in this game is actually really, really good and on point. Now, I have to admit, I think a hard thing that people are going to have to get used to is the fact that this game is a level-based game. And because the game is more realistic and you're doing battle against other people, it can kind of seem tacky when you're putting a shit ton of bullets into them and they're not dying. But I think once you realize the fact that the game is level-based and it is set up that way, you'll get used to it and it will be fun. Now, we only got a small slice of the combat in the beta, but it'll be very interesting to see how the combat will be near the end game, to where you can have more tech powers, more abilities, more perks, all that stuff. So it'll be definitely interesting to see how the game pans out in the later parts of it.
Now moving on to section number 3, what can be added on and worked upon, in my opinion, of course.
Now, I'm just going to try and keep this section a little bit shorter than the other ones. I think there's 2 things that I can really think of off the top of my head, well, maybe 3, that can be added and worked upon in this game. So the thing I would like to see added in this game is, and I think this game actually did a really good job of doing this in my opinion. I mean, the rest of the game was kind of meh, but I think Assassin's Creed Unity did a really cool job of having you be able to change the color of your Assassin's Creed suit and make it kind of your own. And I think it'd be really cool if they allowed you to just dye your clothing, but within reason, of course. You know, I don't want to see some guy run down the street or some agent run down the street who's wearing fucking like bright, you know, neon pink like armor and stuff like that. I think that'd be really tacky. But within reason, I think it'd be really cool if you could just have your own kind of like identity in terms of like your color and stuff like that. Now that I think of it, that actually might be added in the game, but I'm not sure. If it isn't, I think that'd be something really cool for them to add if it isn't already. Now, for the thing that can be worked upon, the one thing that I did see, and I didn't have too much of it, but with the one thing I did see, and I have been seeing people talk about it, is that in the Dark Zone, there is a little lag that you get sometimes And hopefully they'll definitely work on that and fix it and improve it and stuff like that. And as well in the dark zone, when you leave the dark zone, they need to make a zone or a limit to how close players can be, so you don't get camped as soon as you come out of the dark zone, because there's been people who have been camping, and I've had it happen to me, to where I've come out of the dark zone, there's people sitting there waiting for me already to get killed. So if they can work on that, and I'm pretty sure they already have that complaint, that people are camping and stuff like that. If they can work on that and fix that, that'd be great.
And just like that, we're at the final conclusion, ladies and gentlemen.
So the big question you want to answer, right? Is the game worth it? Now, after experiencing and playing the game myself, I really did enjoy the game. I definitely think that I'll be picking it up for Xbox One when it comes out, and I'm really excited to play it with other people. I think this game is going to be really special to play with other people, and be able to mix and mesh and be able to build up your characters together and go out and loot and do events and stuff like that. I think it's just going to be a really fun game. You definitely can play the game solo if you want to. I'm pretty sure that they've said that you can play the whole game solo if you really want to. But this to me just seems like a game that would be really fun to play with other people if you have some other people you can play with. And I definitely recommend it to people who like Destiny as well. It's very similar to Destiny. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making it. It was a blast to make. If you guys did find this helpful at all, if you could please leave a like, as I would greatly appreciate it, as it helps me too.
Subscribe if you'd like to see some more good old content like this. And this is good old Commander Sparks, signing out. Have a good one, everybody.